Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Soul Survivors. Today we're going to go explore the Yulee Sugar Mill Ruins, which is located in Homosassa Springs, which is about 20 to 30 minutes away from Spring Hill. And not a lot of people know about this place. It's so hidden and in the backwoods. But if you go to Homosassa Springs, like the actual state park, you will find these ruins. Now, I do have to make Molly Rose breakfast because today is Valentine's Day, and I also have to go and get her some candy because right next to diamonds, candy is a girl's best friend. So let's do that, and then we're gonna hit the road and show you guys the Yulee Sugar Mill Ruins. Let's do it. That don't know who Yulee is, let's dive right into it. Yulee was very famous in the early 19th century for being a businessman. He was actually Florida's very first senator. David Levy Yulee was also known for making Florida's first cross-state railroad, which was very important at the time. The fact that this man was well known throughout Florida, was the first Florida senator, was an immigrant at that, and had 1,000 slaves, blows my mind that the only thing that's left is something that after the Civil War they couldn't even find. They came after the Civil War, they came and they looked for David Levy Yulee, and the only thing they were able to burn down was his house and I believe the slave quarters where the slaves slept. What's left here has not been touched by man but by nature. And the reason why it's in the condition that it's in is because Florida has decided not to keep up on restoration efforts. They decided to let nature do its thing, and if nature wants to take it down, nature's gonna take it down. Ultimately, our goal with Soul Survivors is to see if we can do an investigation. The reason why I do investigations like this is because some spirits, some entities are not done telling their story. And I feel like it's our responsibility as ghost hunters to go forth and tell their story, or at least attempt to talk about the history, to talk about what can be done in the future to make sure it never happens again. And that's why I love and hate doing investigations like this. Also, it's important to note that David Yulee was charged with treason, and the reason his house burned down was because he helped in aiding Jefferson Davis escape Andrew Johnson, who thought that Davis had helped with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. As a matter of fact, Davis went on to talk about how things would have been better if Abraham Lincoln would have survived, because he knew that his successor, Johnson, was going to be absolutely terrible. And because he made those statements, it cost him his career and anything he wanted to do after. Johnson went after him, found him at David Yulee's house, which is why they went and tried burning it down to the ground, and Davis was actually found in women's clothing as his wife wanted to protect him and wanted people to think that he was somebody else. That started a whole revolution on why people now draw Davis in women's clothing. It's specifically because he was caught at that plantation, at that sugar mill site, in women's clothing trying to escape the Union Army. His wife had someone help them who was African American dress him up in the women's clothing and tried leading him out so that way they wouldn't think anything of it. That is absolutely astonishing. That's the craziest thing that I've read all day, and there is so much more to talk about, but Molly Rose and I decided that that's going to be a different episode for a different day, as we may want to do a drunk history kind of thing. Sounds a little bit of fun. It's just a crazy story and we really want to talk about it. I think we're going to focus more in the future, because history is so exciting to us, like I said before, on sites and places that have to do with the Civil War, and I really want to see what we can get in terms of getting a paranormal experience that has to do with a battleground in the Civil War, like Gettysburg, like Gatlinburg, and other places in North Carolina, South Carolina, places in Florida. It's going to be completely crazy, so stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you.
He wasn't in it, but a bunch of like Confederate weapons and supplies were in his home, so they burned his home to the ground. And then he fled, and they caught him. He went to jail for a couple of years, got released, and then started working on railroads. And this just was left. It wasn't found to be burned, so they just left it untouched, and now it's just gone with nature.
It's actually a very tiny place. I wasn't expecting it to be so small, if I'm being completely honest. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger, but now that I'm here, I know we can do an episode at night. It's pretty wide open. It's just the foundation is still there. So I think I came here with the intention to film a lot more, but it's literally just that tiny piece of foundation that was survived from the burning. For those of you that didn't know, as Molly Rose talked a little bit, it is what it is.
Yeah, just
it's literally
by nature.
Yeah, it's just the mill.
Yeah.
As we've shown you guys, but I definitely think this warrants coming back at night.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would be a good night investigation. You know, bring a couple of friends and just sit at those benches over there. You can't see, but there's some benches over there, and we can actually do a little bit of a spirit box session.
Yeah.
It's only 56 minutes away from us, so it's not like it'd be going too far out of the way.
It's not bad. I mean, there was 1,000 of enslaved people that worked on this mill in the summer, in the heat.
1,000?
Yeah, just about 1,000 people. And, you know, they had their children with them. They had, you know, wives, husbands, anybody who was a slave worked here. And
I think it's important to note that it does talk about the slavery here,
mm-hmm.
and some of the plaques that are around this standing structure. But yeah, and did you read, like, this is me genuinely asking, I don't know, but did any of the slaves die in the fire?
It didn't say anybody died. It was mostly like burns, cuts, being like crushed, like fingers crushed, and like a lot of damage, but no like death was
Reported?
yeah accounted for.
Gotcha.
Not that it didn't happen, it just wasn't.
Well, even if it did happen, it wouldn't have been, nobody would have said anything, because back then they weren't people, they were property.
Yeah.
So nobody would be like, oh, so-and-so died.
Right.
So if there was property damage, that's probably what realistically, unfortunately, they were talking about in terms of property damage. So I guess we'll never really know, you know, with that.
They would harvest the crops, do all of that here, make the sugar, and then load them onto the boats.
Back here?
In the Homosassa River.
Right back there.
So honestly, if someone did pass away, they probably ended up
In the river. That makes sense.
We could get some good stuff.
We're definitely gonna be back. We're gonna be back. This was good that we came out and saw it, so that way I didn't. It's not that I'm disappointed. I just thought that it was more. I thought it was just a lot more. You thought it was less?
Yeah, from the pictures that I saw and vlogs that I watched before, I literally thought it was
Just that?
yeah.
I mean, we got some good pictures. We got some good video, but we will be back. We're definitely gonna be back, and we're gonna do I think a decent investigation. I think we're gonna find a lot of angry entities here. If I'm more specifically, angry slaves,
Yeah.
or former slaves, I should say, because they are not slaves anymore. But all right, we will see you guys later, and subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next adventure. Bye, guys.